Hey everybody, Chris here, and I wanted to offer my thoughts on South of Midnight, the most recently released Xbox title that's on Game Pass, and why, in a lot of ways, I feel like Xbox is finally delivering on its promise of having a steady clip of really solid exclusive games, exclusive being kind of a loosely used term now with Indiana Jones going over to the PlayStation, but I just wanted to talk about it because, it has gotten good reviews, but I think it's not getting enough praise, quite honestly. So I didn't know a whole lot about this other than the art style. Like I remember when it's probably been a year, 2 years ago, however long it's been at this point, that it was sort of previewed and we got a sense of what it was going to look like with kind of this stop motion animation, storybook feel to it. Didn't know anything about the story other than the fact that it was set in the Deep South, and I'm from North Carolina, which I wouldn't really say is the Deep South, but knew it was going to be in the Deep South, and there are some things referenced in the game I won't spoil that are also applicable in some ways to where I grew up, and so that part of it was kind of cool to see in terms of like local businesses, that kind of stuff. But anyway, I sat down and played this over the past maybe 3 to 4 days, something like that. And I'll have to look at my playtime. I want to say I beat it in like 10 hours, maybe a little bit more than that. It didn't really take very long at all. But I really thoroughly enjoyed this. In fact, I think this is one of the best games I've played in the past year or two. Now, I think for context, I think it's important to have that context. I just don't have as much time to play games as I used to. Sometimes I will download a game on Game Pass or on PlayStation and I'll check it out. If it works for me, then I'm all in on it and I will sort of beat it and play through it over the course of a week or two. If it doesn't work after the first hour-ish, I usually just sort of discard it and realize that it's not for me because I just don't have the patience for it, whatever the case may be. This game is a very linear and, well, a mostly linear type of game with some exploration. There's a little bit of a sandbox mechanic to it, but a linear game with very simple combat and controls, which some people may not like. I thought the combat was completely fine, not anything amazing. Maybe a little bit repetitive, of course, and I think that's the biggest knock I'll sort of put out there against this game is that the structure from chapter, as you go through each chapter, is very much the same, right? You go into a level, there are certain enclosed areas where you're going to fight the same types of enemies over and over again. But as you upgrade your character, Hazel, the protagonist of the story, you start to become more proficient in how you approach those enemies. And I did enjoy the boss fights. I thought the boss fights were great. And I think one of the strong points of this game is sort of the lore that fuels how the bosses, the villains, quote unquote, came to be, right? Because they're normal people who have been put through kind of hellish circumstances, and it has sort of transformed them into creatures that are sort of otherworldly and super powerful and that kind of stuff. But anyway, just take it from me. I think the story in this is very good. It's not necessarily amazing, but great voice acting. I think great presentation, a very solid experience from start to finish. And again, visually, I was playing it, on my television up here, sort of in my video game movie room. I thought it just looked immaculate, right? It runs great, I should say, on the Series X. I think it was 60 FPS. It looked like that. The stop motion piece of it sort of meshed well with that, which I think actually you can turn that off. I think I saw that in part of the settings. I didn't do it because I just think it looks super cool and lends to the overall aesthetic of the game in a very intentional way. But I really enjoyed this. And sort of my big takeaway, I think, is that I kind of look back at Xbox and what they've done over the past year, year and a half, something like that, maybe a little bit longer than that. But I think about Hellblade 2, which I also loved. Again, the gameplay in that was not necessarily amazing. It was, in my view, a little bit too cumbersome at times, but the gameplay was serviceable enough. The visuals in that game were amazing. I still think that's the best looking game I've played in a long time, but the story was great, the visuals were amazing, and it was a doable thing for a dad of two kids who has a lot of stuff going on, right? I got through that game in like 15 hours or something along those lines. The same thing here with South of Midnight, right? It wasn't overly cumbersome in terms of how long it took to get through it. It was the perfect size game for me and my taste. And so I think it's good to have that context. But between Hellblade 2, between Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which I also loved, and now between South of Midnight, my favorite games over the past year, honestly, have been on Xbox, with the exception of Astrobot, which of course was on PlayStation. So I think Xbox is finally in a place where it's delivering on its long sort of touted promise that Game Pass was going to sort of pay for itself and be worth it because we've got great first-party titles coming. That's what's happening now. I think we've had a good, steady clip of really great games. I'm sure, of course, there's some other titles. I can't remember all the ones that are sort of coming down the pipe, but other ones that will be here soon. And I feel like Xbox is finally doing what it's always said it's going to be doing. And I'm not trying to like go deep into the console wars because I think that's stupid sort of thing here. But I look at my PlayStation, it's sitting in front of me, and then my Xbox. There's nothing on my PlayStation that's exclusive right now that I'm just clamoring to play. There just isn't. Like, I saw they just rebundled The Last of Us. Like, I'm not gonna venture back into that again. But on Xbox, on Game Pass, there's a lot of stuff I love consistently being added there, and I think the value proposition for that is still amazing. So, all that to say, when it comes to South of Midnight, if you love games, if you love great stories, if you love, I would say, more intentionally uh, abbreviated experiences, not in a bad way, right? We're not talking about a 30 or 100-hour game. My dog Lucy is walking in. If you hear the pitter patter of little paws, but a great experience that's packaged nicely and looks amazing, you really can't do much better than this. So I love South of Midnight. If you played it, let me know what you think in the comments down below. And as always, thanks so much for watching.